And on a serious note, when you put the cheese puffs in the oven, please refrain from opening that door again. If you open that door, it just encourages these guys to deflate, and then you will just lose your formation of the puffs. So do not, on any circumstances, open that door. Use your oven light, put your oven light on so that you can monitor, and you can look through the glass, and see when it starts to puff, so you can reduce your heat to 350. So you're starting at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and within 2 minutes or so they're going to start puffing up. And once you see that happens, you just reduce your heat to 350 and then let it go for 20 to 25 minutes or until it's nice and golden brown. Okay, so do not open that door. Hello and welcome again to Chris's Caribbean Delights. And I'm delighted, really delighted to bring to you tonight an appetizer, a cheese puff, and it's a French appetizer that I've been enjoying for years, and it's just a wonderful, simple recipe, and let's go to those ingredients, and we'll make some cheese puffs. Follow along. We'll make some cheese puffs. Welcome once again to Chris's Caribbean Delights. And if it's your first time here, I give you a special welcome. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, which is right on the right hand side and below the screen. And hit that notification bell so you'll get all the wonderful recipes that I'll be uploading. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome again, and thanks for your support. I really do appreciate it. Today's episode, I'm going to do some cheese puffs. It's a French appetizer made with cheese and that lovely brioche kind of a dough, and it's just delectable. So let's go to those ingredients and let's make some cheese puffs. So here are the ingredients for the cheese puffs. We'll need a half a cup of water. I'm just going to make maybe about 30 of them. So this is a very small recipe. Half a cup of water. We need a half a stick of butter. 2 ounces. I'm using 2 ounces of cheddar cheese, and 1 ounce of Parmesan, grated Parmesan. Both of them are grated. You'll need 2 large eggs, and you need a third egg just for brushing the puffs. I need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and you'll need a half a teaspoon of sugar, and half a cup of flour. All right, so that's the flour. And then I have here all-purpose, not an all-purpose, it's a complete seasoning, just a half a teaspoon of complete seasoning, just to round everything off, and and give it a nice kick, a nice flavor. So we're gonna just, you can add several things to this. You can make it spicy. You can add maybe a little hot pepper or pepper flakes. You can add little greens, parsley, cilantro, or cut very finely. But you can just make it your own. It's just a versatile appetizer. So, and we need a pot to make our dough, because we have to cook this dough, and and before we add the cheeses and stuff like that. So let's go to the next step. So I preheat my oven to 400. So that's going to start heating up by the time I get all this stuff together, and it'll be ready for when I am ready to put it in there. So half a cup of water we add to my pot, and then to the water I'm going to add the butter. You have to melt that butter down, the sugar and the salt, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just get it all in there, and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, get that in there, and I'm also going to put my complete seasoning in there. I mean, that's totally optional, because I mean, if you don't want it to look anywhere different, or you don't want any specks in there, it all depends. But I just love it. It gives it character, and it looks a lot, you know, with the little specks of black. You know, it's seasoned. You know, little specks of little pieces of garlic in there and stuff like that. Oh, that's wonderful. Anyway, so we're gonna let our water heat up and get the butter melted and get us all in before we add our flour. We have to add our flour in there. So that butter is melted, and once the butter is melted, we have to let it come to a roaring boil. Just let it get to that intense boiling action. You're going to see when it starts to bubble up rapidly. That's when you're going to take it off the fire, and you're going to add the flour, and we're going to stir the flour in. So let it seems to be getting there pretty quickly too. That looks like a crazy boil, like a roaring boil. I think it is, yeah. So it's at that point. So let's turn that off. Stir in the flour. Stir in the flour. Once this flour is all stirred in here, we're going to turn the heat back on, and we'll cook this for about 4 to 5 minutes. And we don't want anything to burn, so you have to cook that flour. So I'll continually stir that for about 2 minutes, and then we'll cook that flour, and I'll be back. So I'm done. I've cooked the flour, and once you see a film starting to develop in the bottom of the pot, that means you don't have any more moisture, because what you're trying to do, you're trying to get all the moisture out of the flour. That 1/2 cup of water that we had in there, you try to get that out and get the moisture out. So once it starts to leave a film like this in the bottom of the pot, you know your moisture is gone, so you're good to go. So you can shut this down, and we can move to the next step. So I transferred my dough to the stand mixer, and I'm going to beat this until it gets a little cooler, because we have to add eggs and stuff in there, and you don't want to add the eggs. You see all that steam is coming out of there. You don't want to add the eggs in there when it's really hot, because you know it's going to happen, right? You're going to get scrambled eggs. So we're going to do this for a minute or so until that's nice and cool, that is cooled down a little bit. You can feel, oh, it's really, really hot. So this is going to go for, sorry about that. This is going to go for about a minute or so until it cools down a little, and we're going to start adding our eggs and our other ingredients in there. I'll be back. So the flour, my batter is nice and cool, so I'll just add the eggs one at a time, and then I'll continue beating. Increase my speed, give it some work. Let's add a second egg. And the batter should be nice and shiny, and when I raise it up, it should form a string, form like a straight string. And raise it to medium, let it beat, let it do some work here. Want to scrape down the sides just to make sure that so when you pick it up, you're looking for a stringy consistency, and we don't have that yet. So get our sides scraped down nicely. Make sure everything is incorporated. Let's go back to work. Maybe another minute and a half or so, and it should be fine. So let's check our consistency. Okay. So I added about a tablespoon of water because that's it should run off the when I pick it up, it should run off the mixer, the paddle, and like a string. So I added just a little more, about a tablespoon more of water, and then we'll see what we have. We just give it a mix, and we'll see what we have for consistency. Yeah, there we go. See, it's running off. It's dripping. It's just sliding off smoothly sliding off the paddle. So it's nice and light. I think we're good to go. We can just add our cheeses in there. Now this recipe just called for 2 ounces of grated cheddar or Gruyere, and 2 ounces of and 1 ounce of Parmesan. You can add more cheese depending on how cheesy you want it. You can add more cheese or you can add less cheese. Yeah, it's all up to you. So we're gonna incorporate that cheese, and then we're gonna put it all into get the batter together, put it in a piping bag, and we're gonna go from there. Step 3. So step 3, I have my piping bag, and it's fitted with a 1/2 inch icing nozzle, icing tube there, and that's what we're going to use. I'm going to leave all the instructions in the description box below, like the number of the thing, the number of the thimble I'm using, and all that. So I usually put it over a glass, so that you can get some stability before I start filling it. And then I fill. You can use a spoon or a spatula just to get the dough in here. As it fills up, just shake it down. Shake it down. Let's put a little more in there. Okay. Okay, so now your piping bag is ready to go. We'll just get the pan and start piping. Okay, I started piping and did a few practice shots, but I'm not a professional at this, but a little piece of air pocket in there would mess things up. So burp your bag once you refill. Then we're going to deal with the peaks later. See those little peaks that are popping up over there? Because if you leave the peaks, those are going to burn first, because there's not a lot of, it's going to cook very fast because it's just a little peak. And you wouldn't want that. So we're gonna take care of those peaks. I have my egg yolk there that I'm going to brush with, but or you can just damp your finger in the egg wash and just touch the peaks and flatten them a little bit. Or you can damp your finger in some water, because you don't want the peaks to be sticking up too much, you know. Just damp your finger in a little bit of water. I prefer to do it in the water instead of the egg wash. Egg wash, the egg wash has to go on there anyway. So in a little water, just touch the peaks, and let them go. Let them flatten out a little. Yeah. You don't want that meringue burn kind of thing, you know what I mean? So just look for all the little peaks. So with the egg wash, actually it's not really an egg wash. I didn't put any water in it. It's just the plain yolk I'm brushing with. Just brushing with the yolk. Give it. Come back. So now I'm going to top it with a little more Parmesan cheese. After I baste it with the egg yolk. Then we'll bake them at 400. You're going to go in there at 400, and once they start to puff up, I'm going to reduce it to 350 and just let them cook for 20 to 30 minutes. 20 to 25 minutes. It's not going to take that long. Just a little more grated parm. I missed a few, so just gonna go over. Okay, 400 for about until they puff up, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes or so at 400, and then I'll reduce it to 350 and then give it a 20-minute ride. And I always use my middle shelf. So we'll be back with the results. Thank you. See, they have puffed up, and so I dropped the heat to 350, and then we're gonna leave them in there for another 20 minutes or so. Anyway, cheese puffs, just out of the oven. They took 25 minutes and they're nice and golden brown. So we'll do a taste test in a minute. Here guys, a wonderful taste test for the cheese puffs that I just completed. And here we go. They're nice and soft and delicious. Lovely airy inside. Like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you try this recipe. It's so simple and it's so cheesy. You'll love it. You can't stop by eating just one of them. If you're catering for 12 people, you better have about 36 of these hanging out. Okay. See you next time.